I think the HR related French language issues is definitely has to be prioritized simply because you are dealing with your employees and you want to ensure that your employees are happy. And obviously you want to ensure that you're meeting all legal requirements. So I took a couple of notes listening to Tanya. On the employment agreement side, what and again, I agree with Tanya. We don't know. We'll see what jurisprudence decides coming in the future. But we've gone with a bilingual approach where the employment agreement is in French first and then in English second. And hopefully that will meet the requirements if it ever goes to court, which I'm sure it will one day. And then with respect to communications, it's definitely a tricky question. And I think there's still some debate out there. I don't know if Tanya wants to interject or not, but whether or not you can actually go to the employees and ask them for their preferred language, or they basically have to come to you and tell you what their preferred language is. There's a couple of ways around dealing with that without actually having to answer that question. One way is in your employment agreement, you can have like an annex or a schedule to it where they actually provide their personal information and then they can state what their preferred language is right there. And I would recommend you ensure that there's a good little sentence there stating, by writing down that it's English, you accept to receive, all future written communications from your employer in English, but obviously you can revoke this or change your language of choice at any time. So that's one way of doing that is when you're hiring the person and onboarding the person, you ensure you tackle that issue there. It's obviously much more complicated when you already have maybe 4,000 employees or even 50 employees, and now you have to deal with this new reality. But there's ways of resolving that. Another way of resolving communications without even having to get into the rabbit hole of asking employees what their preferred language is offering AI or automatic translation services. I know Microsoft 365, for example, offers that service where if you're using Outlook and you get an email that comes in English, you can set it up so it automatically translates into French or vice versa. So that's another tool which you're probably more than familiar with, Gary, with AI translation. So the one risk with that, though, I would say, is that depending on the AI translation that you're using, it might not be best for certain situations. It obviously gives a great overall translation for general matters, but if you're getting into the legalese, then you probably want to make sure that you have a more robust translation provider.